Sometimes you hear a song so much and everywhere that you take the bait and buy the album. And sometimes that album you buy sounds nothing like that original song that had your interest in the first place. It's happened to everyone. And the band Crazy Town became huge because of this. Let's take a look back and see why The Gift of Game is worth regretting. Rap rock, nu metal, everything in between was surging back in the early 2000s. There were some great bands to break out through this, but there were also some names that have fallen by the wayside. A flash in the pan. If that pan was hitting you over the head repeatedly until you had to acknowledge it, then that band would fade into obscurity. And if there was one band that had a song that made sure to hit you over the head over and over and over again until you had to acknowledge it, it's Crazy Town.
Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar baby.
Anyone who was listening to rock or top 40 stations even know that this song was constantly being played. Even people who barely know anything about Crazy Town know the song Butterfly. That's some strong association. For many bands, this is what dreams are made of, and for this 6 and at times 7-piece band, their dream came true. The Gift of Game, Crazy Town's first studio album, got an extremely long shelf life and was highlighted months after release date and caught that big break that is so hard to come by for bands. People went to Best Buy and Sam Goody back in the day by the thousands to buy this album. Went home, opened it up, put it in their CD player, listened to Butterfly, tried listening to a few other songs, got disgusted or just sick of it, shelved the CD, and never touched it again. There's a reason why The Gift of Game is sitting in so many storage boxes and basements across America. Kinda like a time capsule of shame. I highly doubt Crazy Town is ashamed of it though. The Gift of Game sold over 1.5 million copies in the United States alone, all spearheaded by the song Butterfly. We'll get to that track later, but this album had a huge success, and it really should not have. That might be rude to say, but trust me when I tell you this, Crazy Town is hilariously bad. I'm talking it'll lower your IQ a few points when you hear the rest of their music. Some of you might be thinking, yeah, Butterfly wasn't Shakespeare levels of writing, but it was still fun to hear and it wasn't that bad. You don't even know how wretched some of the lines in this album get. I can't even imagine how writing and recording sessions could have happened without a sound engineer trying not to laugh hysterically in the booth. I actually have visited the location where Crazy Town recorded The Gift of Game. Here's a little video I took of it. On Regretting the Past, I've talked about many big-name bands, but it's rare I talk about the ones who were only in the limelight for a year or less. Well, Crazy Town might be a great example for this situation, so let's go track by track and listen to why Crazy Town never made it further past one enormous single. A bit of warning, some of the lyrics I'll be flashing on screen have been censored, but you can still tell what they are. Crazy Town have potty mouths. I'll just leave it at that. Of all the albums I've been asked to cover on Regretting the Past, this one is probably the most interesting for me, because everyone knows that one song and that's it. It's not by a big name band. So, let's get ready and see why The Gift of Game is worth regretting. And you remember that clip of the dumpster I just showed you? Well, that describes the music quality you're about to hear as well.
You know, we're not evil, we're not good. We're somewhere in between.
Not much to say here. It's a bit unnecessary. Not sure why this even exists. I know they needed an intro, but come on, do something. In fact, me trying to explain it probably equates to the amount of effort and time they put into making this intro. The noise. Okay, stop. Sorry? For starters, this song has a whole lot going on in just under 3 minutes. Cannot say that it's boring, I'll give it that. The mixing is really awkward with the rhythm brought into the front, and it's hard to make out some of the rap over the distorted bass effect. The riffs in the chorus are pretty basic, for a better word. It's generic riffs. It's the type of stuff you learned in the first month of guitar class. And now we get to the biggest problem in The Gift of Game. The writing. The lyrics. Oh my gosh, the lyrics. All of the songs on The Gift of Game were written by several band members and some outside help occasionally, but always included frontman Shifty Shell. Oh wow, that's his name, huh? Okay, well, Shifty Shell Shock has a bit of a writing style that mirrors a teenager with an anonymous Twitter account of today. This is the type of stuff that predates the edgelord meme kids by over 15 years. Don't believe me? Well, read along as I play the first verse in the actual first song on this album.
who's it doing? More hoes and vivid, lyrics explicit.
So fuck the critics, we leave them hanging like insects.
There is so much wrong with that last few seconds, and I don't even want to do this video anymore. It's like some crappy shock comic desperate for attention, with a bass line behind him. The music eventually just goes into a repeated, echoed, toxic repetition, and that's the delivery. A couple shocking lines talking about how awesome they are and how they'll leave all their haters dead. That wasn't even cool back in 2000 when nu metal bands would sing any type of filth. Also, Michael of INXS died in 1997. This album came out in November of 1999. So these hacks thought of someone that died relatively recently that was a big name in this fashion just so they could use it in their song to talk about how tough they are. That's it. These guys are hacks, and I'm only one song in. If that's not enough to learn about the song Toxic, which, wow, is that a fitting title to how it really feels to hear, this song was actually the first released single from the album, not Butterfly. So yeah, this is what Crazy Town thought would be their best foot forward. I know back in 99 or 2000, rock radio was really trying to play to a Howard Stern type crowd, one that was a little more PG-13 in content, and thus try to find music that matched that, you know, make everything a little more edgy for that nu metal crowd, and just overall rock in general. But what rock radio station is gonna blast this garbage? It's a crappy song with terrible lyrics, bad guitars, and they make fun of a suicide victim in it. Who the heck, what the heck? I don't even know what to say anymore. We're barely 5 minutes in.
Think fast!
It opens up with some static riffs that doesn't really change for the rest of the song. The turntable comes in and then it starts sounding like a junior high school conversation with a bunch of teenagers shouting at each other. Part of it sounds like an angry Simple Plan complainy song. Part of it is the same junior high kids trying to tell people how tough life is, from the perspective of kids who just don't know what they are talking about. Then add a ton of record scratching and that same generic guitar riff that doesn't change. I'll give them this, they had a fast and clear delivery. It's not mumble mouth for 4 minutes for how much material they get out. But that material of what they're saying is awful, hilariously bad. Here's a clip. Just listen and read along.
Life ain't easy, man, life's a bitch. Shit is harder than hard about as hard can get.
That's not the worst of it. Keep going.
Back when Sheila got a daughter, she be clubbing every night. Sheila had a daughter young and still it just ain't right. Then she rides a white horse. She used to ride my pony and fight it, now I'd break it. Cause Sheila's just too bony!
Sheila's just too bony. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my gosh. And we go to the next song and it sucks already in the first few seconds.
Why can't you see? I cannot feel till you bring me down.
The vocals do come in well on Dark Side. It's mixed a little smoother in the verses. Then the awful guitar kicks in during the chorus and it really derails everything. Then they keep playing this weird robot voice as a connector and it's terrible. It fades out at the end of the track with that vocal effect also. This entire song is just a connection of different styles pushed together and it does not flow. Why do I point that out? Because this was also a single pushed out before the song Butterfly made it big. Dark Side didn't chart anywhere, and I'm still surprised they pushed this song as a feature. I have never once heard this on any radio station ever, and I listened a lot back in the day. So if you have, and if you really remember this song being played on the air, leave a comment below and let me know what station it was and when. Because I know I haven't. And this was back in 99 and 2000 when rock radio would play anything nu metal. Fun fact, this song featured Troy Van Leeuwen for additional help on guitars. Yep. Queens of the Stone Age, A Perfect Circle, Crazy Town. Did you owe one of the label record executives a life debt? Come on, you couldn't have needed the money that bad. Alright, the lyrical content and attitude is so much better here. I'm not going to crap all over this song for it because it sounds like the writers and band in general have matured a few years from the last few tracks, if that's even possible. The delivery from both vocalists works here. What sucks is the chorus hook. It's a sing-along that sounds like it's a kid's nursery rhyme that disjoints from the rest of the song. And I mean, it really disjoints the flow of this track because there's a lot written in the verses and the song is over 5 minutes, but it doesn't hit the mark. Black Cloud even features Jay Gordon of Orgy helping out with the keyboard effects, which stands out well, but it still doesn't save the song. I'm a broken record already at this point, but the guitar work here isn't even mediocre. It's what high school kids riff in a garage. It also doesn't help that there are 2 guitarists listed in the band on this album. Neither one of them could come up with something better than a standard strum and pose sound. It's a shame because this song had potential. Not saying it was great, but it's way better than the first few tracks we've already heard and were meant to be singles. But it doesn't matter, because the only thing that does matter for Crazy Town is the next song. Butterfly is the song that made Crazy Town a big deal. You can't say they weren't well known after this song either, because this song shot to #1 with a bullet and stayed there. It was played everywhere. Radio, TV, sporting events, dance clubs, strip clubs, weddings, funerals. Okay, maybe not the last one, but you get the idea.
Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar baby. Come my lady, you're my pretty baby, I'll make your legs shake, you'll make me go crazy. Come my lady.
Butterfly went #1 in over a dozen countries and hit #1 on several US charts. That chorus line with the song title was a big part of music culture back in 2000. It can't be stressed enough. Butterfly is what sold this album. That, and the fact that this song sampled Red Hot Chili Peppers' track Pretty Little Ditty. Crazy Town owes their entire career to Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's not that I mind them using the riff from a song 10 years prior. The 2 songs themselves are very different. They also clearly give credit to Chili Peppers for it. But let's face it, the groove of this song is instantly recognizable by the opening notes. It's instantly thought of when you hear the first few seconds, and those first few seconds were originally by Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is it bad? Not really, no. I mean, the writing is a little bit awkward at times, but it's much better than the first few songs we've heard, especially Toxic and Dark Side. But the music hook is still there. I mean, there's nothing terrible in this.
Butterflies in her eyes and her looks to kill. Time is passing, I'm asking, could this be real? Cause I can't sleep, I can't hold still. The only thing I really know is she got sex appeal.
It's memorable, it has a flow, it's not complicated. Butterfly is Crazy Town at their best. For whatever that's worth. Well, that's the section of the video where I have the most positive things to say. It's gonna get rough after this, I guess. Ugh. I love that regretting the past is the thing that most people want to watch me do. Awesome. Glad I have a channel where this is what everyone gets the most enjoyment out of.
I get drunk and I stumble to the phone.
Wow, just the song title alone.
I get drunk and I stumble to the phone. Conjure up a bitch to bone when I'm alone. Fucked up, toe back, I need to take a piss. Only when I'm drunk I sing a song like this. My grandma.
There is no real chorus in this one. This sucks. The backtrack and basic chords could have all been stock tracks from a label or studio. It's awful. I'm struggling to really think of anyone who would love this, or how this song follows Butterfly and is meant to be taken as something worth putting on an album. It's a dumb joke of a song with a bare minimum of music craft behind it. If they were going for comedy, then they failed because the rhythm is just too quick to take it all in. It's like they wanted to emulate something the Beastie Boys did about drinking in a song and failed miserably. Comparing any of this to the Beastie Boys is extremely generous. I'm pretty sure the Beastie Boys would stop listening to this album after 30 seconds.
Get some habit, there's mayhem in the plastic city of La La. I mean the land of holy Jaja. The wood is hot and you can't spot the box of people like sheep.
The fuzz in the guitar really takes away from the vocals. It's all unlevel. The chorus really isn't bad though. Hollywood Babylon is another song that could have been something if reworked a bit. I mean that too. I mean, come on, I could see it being a better single than whatever the heck Toxic was. It's derailed, though, by the terrible sound in the verses. You can't get a lot out of the rapping from Bret Mazur and Shifty Shell Shock. Sorry. Hollywood Babylon features reggae singer Mad Lion. That's something. His voice really comes out of nowhere, too. I mean, jeez.
Hollywood, welcome to Babylon.
It's intense. You never really expect to hear that deep of a voice out of nowhere in any song. Or anywhere in life, for that matter. Hey, how's it going?
Hey baby, how you doing? I hate that you have to go, but I love to watch you leave.
The lyrics are starting to break me now. This is hot garbage. I refuse to read these aloud, so pause the video and read them for yourself. What in the world were they thinking? They weren't 14, so they couldn't have thought "It's Madness Pimpin' Like Gladys" was something people would love. The rhythm is a little better, and you can make out what the vocalists are saying, unfortunately. Wow, now I appreciate the uneven mixing with the bad guitar a little more. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point, and that's awful. The bass and drums are there, but this is the most variation I've heard this entire album. It's like toddlers banging on pots and pans for the percussion, while someone shouts "Stick 'em!" over and over again in the chorus. How is this the same band that played Butterfly? Nothing even comes close to sounding like it on this album so far. It's like some kind of genius scam, where they got many people to buy an album where nothing else sounds like the song that's already played for free everywhere. Wait a minute, why did people even buy this album in the first place? It was played everywhere!
Come on.
Okay, that grunt and the title Lollipop Porn put together. I hate everything now.
I got a lollipop porn, bitch. A hardcore sex bitch turned suicidal. I got a lollipop porn, bitch. A hardcore sex bitch turned suicidal. I got a lollipop.
I'm really not sure where to go with this anymore. This is reminiscent of an ICP song, but even juggalos would scoff at some of this. I don't know what lollipop porn is, and I don't want to know. And I don't want people telling me. Please, don't link me to Urban Dictionary in the comments. The music is awful, the rhythm is bad again, and it's just like there is nothing to differentiate between this and the other songs except for a few track length times and switching out one bad set of juvenile tough guy posing lyrics for another set of nu metal angry braggadocious lyrics. Saying this is a product of the times is an understatement. I still can't believe they titled the song Lollipop Porn. And no, I don't want to know what it is either. Still, please don't tell me. I'm just gonna imagine that it's a 4K camera, slow-mo crossing and panning across a row of unwrapped lollipops in a candy store. That's it. It's gonna keep the one shred of innocence I have.
Ladies come, ladies go, I'm a revolving door. Some ladies never come back, most come back for more. I got a house in the hills with a dough that spins, goes in and out and in, round and round again.
Okay, remember when I talked about Black Cloud and how the lyrics were a lot stronger and actually made sense and it wasn't completely embarrassing? Yeah, Revolving Door falls into that category as well. Even though Revolving Door is a metaphor for women going in and out of shifty Shell Shock's life, it goes deeper than that, and he has reasoning why.
Since a kid I've been surrounded by beautiful women and slipping in them to win them the unforgiven. Still something's missing, cause deep inside I'm suffering of a lonely heart condition. Wishing
Honestly, it works. It has a subtle reggae vibe with the guitar, and this is the first time it doesn't sound like a blown out speaker in my ear. You can hear it clear and it flows with a good rhythm. If the rest of the album was at this level, things would have been fine. Revolving Door was the final single from The Gift of Game and actually charted a bit outside of the US, but that's really it. Nothing else mattered besides Butterfly at that point. So far we have about 2 or 3 songs that aren't shockingly bad. Awesome.
can't get enough. Said I loved you, and you believed it was true, that's hilarious. But your mother should have warned you about guys like us. A freak, y'all. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, cause players only love you when we're playing.
Remember a couple minutes ago when I said I had a shred of innocence left? It's gone now. It's just smut now. Bragging smut. It's what you hear when you walk into a loud college bar at 11 at night and one bro is screaming about how amazing he is with the ladies, but there are no women around him and he's just telling the bartender all that who didn't even ask. They brought in Jenny Saprell, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, to help with backup vocals, but it doesn't save anything here. You can hear everything clear, there is a steady delivery, and this is much more hip-hop and a drum beat than any actual nu metal or rap rock, and this sounds like it was made to be a single, but no one took it that way. Oh, but the song Toxic would work well. Sorry, I still can't get over that. I kind of get the feeling at this point, along with an attempted single, is that players only love you when they're playing, wow, that's an awful song title, is the song was meant as throwing something against the wall to see if it sticks. That's kind of how Butterfly worked if you think about it. Both of these songs sound nothing like the rest of the album for the most part. Or each other. It's almost like they wanted attention for anything. Any type of music, any type of style. They just wanted the attention. And with the lyric writing, yeah, I think it's safe to say they were desperate for attention. The guitar actually sounds like something now. This song has so much more energy and flow behind it than almost every other song on the Gift of Game combined. Why didn't they try to point this song out more? They brought in KRS-One, as it said at the beginning of this track, and he definitely adds a strong dynamic. I can now honestly say there are 3 songs on this album that are at least worth hearing. That's still terrible. Lyrics are better, but they might have been because they brought in outside help. Probably should have done that for every other song. It wouldn't have saved the album or anything, but it also wouldn't have made me feel ashamed to listen to most of this. Being generous, I'd say 3 tracks out of 13 that are actually worth listening to. Over 1 million copies sold in the US. Man, nu metal sold anything back then. It's just that static feedback for about a minute. That's it. Thanks for adding that to the album and the runtime. Really adds depth and shows off your talents. Then they have a hidden track for another minute, which sounds like it's just some guy selling Crazy Town and how great they are. And F you if you disagree. He states that as a fact. That's how the album ends. Well, I disagree. And now that it's finally over, I could say, overall, this album sucks. Over 1 million copies sold in the United States on the back of one song that sounds nothing like the rest of the album. This is the perfect example of a bait and switch record. You get interested in one song, spend your money, and realize you just bought an album with a bunch of permanent adolescents bragging about themselves to bad guitar riffs, generic drum tracks, and some of the most laughably bad lyrics I have heard in years. And when I say bait and switch, I mean it. I don't blame people at all if they bought the Gift of Game back then, because how were they supposed to know they'd be getting such a dumpster fire of bad music with it? When people look back at the nu metal scene in the early 2000s and laugh at it, this is what they should refer to as Exhibit A. Crazy Town isn't completely talentless. I mean, the 2 vocalists in it at the time knew how to give a clear delivery and dish it out fast, but with all the wretched writing and the previous problems I listed, this album going platinum is insane. Crazy Town would go on to release a follow-up album called Darkhorse, but it didn't do nearly as well. It went virtually ignored. Even more crazy is that they tried to make a comeback in 2015 with the album The Brimstone Sluggers and went on tour to promote it. That tour barely sold tickets and venues lost money out of it. This is a good example of a band making it big out of one song and then failing miserably to continue with any type of success. Hey, they made it, and that's more than a lot of people can say, so at least Crazy Town has that. I hope they saved their money too and had a ton of fun in their heyday, because this is my new #1 example of a platinum album that has not aged well at all. Even if Butterfly proved they could only do it once, and every other time they tried to make music, they either needed outside help or had some of the most juvenile, douchey lyrics you can imagine. The recipe for success in 2000 for Shifty Shell... He calls himself Shifty Shell Shock! Oh, I bet he tries to pick up women with that name! Shifty Shell Shock! Thank you everyone for watching and your continued support. What album do you think should be on Regretting the Past? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Huge thanks to my patrons for keeping Rocked going. You can help support Rocked, see videos early, and even get rewards. More information on the YouTube card and the description link below. Please subscribe, it really helps out to get notes and YouTube suggestions. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.